On our last video, we talked about how a bill becomes a law. And on this video, we're going to talk about how the General Assembly in the state of North Carolina does a very similar process. So what's on the screen should look familiar because we just covered that. But we do have to add that our state legislator has a very similar process. The only difference is that it's not going to go through Congress, it's going to go through the General Assembly, and at the very end, it's not going to be the president's decision, it's going to be the governor's decision instead of the president. So when we're talking about the powers of the governor, there's something slightly different. The governor has the option to do this thing called a line item veto. Now, our president does not have this power, even though at one time Bill Clinton had it for just a second. He did it once, and then the Supreme Court said it was unconstitutional. However, our governor can line item a veto. Line item means when you mark out a particular part of a bill, just one part of it. It's not in the U.S. Constitution. However, North Carolina has recently, and when I say recently, in the 90s, given our governor the power to do this. And it's just where you get to mark out just a piece of a particular piece of legislation. So, talking about the General Assembly, this is what the building looks like, and it looks a lot more impressive when you're there. I think this picture looks quite small compared to the Capitol building, but this is where we make laws in the state of North Carolina. It's very similar to Congress because there are two houses. We have a North Carolina House of Representatives and we have a North Carolina Senate. Now, let's talk about the NC House first. There are 120 members, and they are there for 2-year terms. So every 2 years, all 120 have to run for re-election every 2 years. However, there is no term limit. They can be there as long as they like. Their qualifications include things like being 21, they have to be a registered voter in the state of North Carolina, and they have to be a member of the district that they are going to represent in the General Assembly for at least 1 year. So when we look at the map of North Carolina, here are 120 districts, and if you look at it, it looks very crazy and very all over the place. And the districts, we're going to come back to this map later because the districts don't quite add up in size. A lot of it's got to do with population, but it's also got to do with some other things too. So this is Representative Greg Murphy, and he represents the area that just District 9. And then Jean Farmer Butterfield represents District 24. And then we also have Susan Martin, and she represents District 8. So if we back up a second and we look at this map and we try to find, we've got District 9, District 8, and then 24 is right over here. So they're kind of, even though they're next to each other, there's a lot of holes and gaps in how the district is drawn. So one particular county, like this particular county, can have 3 different representatives. So if you live on one side of the county and your grandma lives on another side, you could have entirely different representatives to represent you. Now the NC Senate has 50 members, and they're there for 2-year terms as well, and again, there's no term limit. This is the districts for the NC Senate, and if you look at them, they look quite a bit different than the NC House. Here are the North Carolina Senators. We have NC Senator Lewis Pate, and we have NC Senator Don Davis. The NC Senate qualifications are a lot more, or at least it looks like it, than the NC House. You have to be at least 25, you have to be a registered voter in the state of North Carolina, you have to have lived in North Carolina for 1 or 2 years, and you have to have lived in that particular district for at least 1 year. So it looks like more, but actually there's only one extra qualification between the NC House and the NC Senate. Now, local legislators, we have a county board of commissioners, we have city councils, and we have other ones as well. The county board of commissioners, there are 9, and they hire a county manager. The 9 commissioners aren't necessarily experienced in government. They could be anybody from, just a regular person who's never had a job to someone who's done government work before. Versus the county manager went to school to do this. The county manager is selected by the commissioners. The commissioners have 3-year terms, and they have a 2-term limit. So after 6 years, they cannot be a county commissioner anymore. And if we go to that link right there, we can view the city council. For our city has 6 representatives that are elected, a mayor that is also elected, and a mayor pro temp, just in case the mayor can't do the job for whatever reason one day. Like recently, the city that we live in, the mayor went and he now has another job in a town that's 30 minutes away. So our mayor pro temp is now our mayor until we have another election. Our city council is there for 2 years. We can go to this link, or we can go to this one, and so to view who our city council members are. All right, and that's it for today.